Picture this. It's lunchtime. Everyone around you is pairing up, pulling chairs together, making plans. And then there's you. Headphones in, favorite meal in front of you, completely at peace. No small talk. No splitting the bill. Just you, your food, and your thoughts. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you wonder, is this weird? Should I want company right now? Here's what's fascinating. Most people would look at that scene and feel sorry for the person eating alone. Society has quietly taught us that eating is a social ritual, that a table for one is somehow a table of loneliness. But what if that assumption is completely backwards? What if the people who choose to eat alone aren't lonely at all? What if they're actually operating at a higher level of self-awareness than most? Today we're diving deep into the psychology of people who eat alone by choice. And trust me, by the end of this, you're either going to understand yourself a whole lot better, or you're going to look at that solo diner in the corner of the restaurant very differently. Let's start with the obvious question. Why would someone choose to eat alone when they don't have to? Because here's the thing. We're not talking about people who have no options. We're talking about people who have options and still choose the empty chair across from them. That's a deliberate psychological choice, and it tells us a great deal about how a person's mind is wired. Psychologists who study introversion and restorative behavior talk about something called solitude as recovery. The idea is that for certain personality types, being around other people, even people they genuinely like, is neurologically taxing. Your brain is processing social cues, managing your tone, reading facial expressions, deciding what to say next. It's a full-time job that runs quietly in the background. And for people who are highly sensitive or introverted, that background process drains energy fast. So mealtime becomes something sacred. It becomes the one window in a busy, noisy, people-filled day where the brain gets to exhale. Think about it like charging your phone. You wouldn't have a conversation on your phone while it's at 2% battery if you could avoid it, right? Eating alone, for these individuals, is the charger. It's not antisocial. It's intelligent energy management. But there's another layer here that goes beyond introversion. Some people who eat alone by choice are actually deeply sensory and present. They genuinely want to taste their food. They want to notice the texture, the warmth, the smell. Mindful eating research has shown that people who eat without distraction are more attuned to their hunger cues, more satisfied after meals, and less likely to overeat. So while the rest of the table is laughing about something that happened at work, the solo diner is having a completely different kind of experience, a more intentional one. There's also something worth talking about here, the confidence factor. Because choosing to eat alone in public, especially in a culture that stigmatizes it, requires a quiet but real sense of self-assurance. You have to be okay being seen. You have to not care, at least a little, about what the couple at the next table might think. And that takes a level of psychological independence that not everyone has developed. Research in social psychology suggests that people who are comfortable with solitude tend to score higher in self-concept clarity, meaning they have a clearer, more stable sense of who they are. They're not eating alone because they failed to find company. They're eating alone because they know exactly what they need. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Solitude researchers, and yes, that is a real area of study, have found that time spent alone, especially unstructured, quiet time, is closely linked to creativity and self-reflection. When you remove the social noise, your brain shifts into what neuroscientists call the default mode network. This is the part of your brain that gets active when you stop focusing on the outside world and start processing internally. It's where ideas are connected, where memories are consolidated, where the deeper questions of your life start to surface. And for people who eat alone by choice, lunchtime might be the only space in their day where that network actually gets to run. So that person at the corner table isn't zoning out. Their brain is doing some of its most important work. Let's also be honest for a moment. Not every solo meal is a Zen experience. Sometimes eating alone is your way of processing something, a hard conversation, a decision you're circling, a feeling you haven't named yet. Food has always been tied to emotion, and eating without an audience can give you the space to sit with those feelings without performing okayness for anyone else. That's not avoidance. That's emotional honesty. So what does all of this mean for you? If you're someone who regularly chooses a solo lunch over a crowded table, here's what your psychology is likely telling you. You value your inner world. You understand your own energy. You have a relationship with solitude that most people haven't developed. And that's not a flaw. In a world that constantly rewards busyness and social performance, choosing stillness, even for 30 minutes over a sandwich, is quietly radical. The next time someone asks why you're eating alone, you could explain all of this to them. Or you could just smile, put your headphones back in, and let your default mode network do its thing. Because some of the most interesting people in the room are the ones sitting quietly by themselves. And you already knew that.